Hi, I am Manuela Drogué from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I do classical Taekwondo. Welcome to the 9th and last episode of our Korean kicking project. You can check about us at www.taekwon.com.ar. Hopefully this material will help you with your understanding and practice of the martial arts. In case you like it, please don't forget to put the thumbs up button, subscribe and share. This last episode will probably add something to your view of Korean martial arts. It is divided in two parts. In the original plan of this series, the first part of episode 9 was dedicated to the analysis of martial art theory. When I reached the final edition stage, I found that the ideas and materials were so rich in content that it would be a waste to try to compress it in just 30 minutes. That content refers to the basics of motion of Taekwondo in general and ITF technique in particular as they relate to combat. It is actually what I consider my specialty. Given that such topic exceeds the art of kicking, that it is advanced material, and that it goes to the bone and root of Taekwondo, I have decided to work on that in the future and hopefully someday present it as a standalone project in a proper way. As a consequence, I have decided to shorten this first part and preserve much of its original content for later. At this point, I also want to share with all fans of the Korean Kicking Project that I have recently been promoted in rank. I am so grateful for such honor, especially to Grandmaster Lee Yu-son, to Grandmaster Kim Han-chang, and to my teacher, the late Grandmaster Pedro Florindo, along with all members of our school. To me, rank itself is not important, but it is a platform where you stand. What really matters is what you do with the position with which you have been entrusted. Again, thanks for the support that I have received from everyone. I hope that you like the video that I have inserted in this episode with the highlights of the promotion ceremony. So, the contents of part 1 of episode 9 will be: first, the video of the promotion ceremony; second, our bouncing or rhythmic kicking drills; and third, a comment of the purported contradiction between martial art versus sport and the dismissal of the so-called flashy kicks. This will complete the technical portion of the series. And in part 2 of this episode 9, I will put together the puzzle of how all modern Korean martial arts are related in an attempt to answer an interesting question. What is traditional when referring to Korean martial arts? Good kicking skills involve the ability to lift your foot from the ground immediately to the target. You don't only need strength in your legs, hips and abdominal muscles, but also some momentum to lift the leg. For that reason, kicks must be done efficiently and make use of natural bouncing. When I refer to bouncing, I don't mean just to adopt a sparring stance and start dancing around, but that you educate your body to become sensitive with your own balance. If you're stiff, you will not be able to do it. In Bruce Lee's famous fight against Chuck Norris at the Coliseum, Bruce was unable to achieve the timing he needed to prevail until he started bouncing. Take a look at how the elasticity of bouncing became a game changer for him. Now, a final comment on theory before we jump into the practical. Tai Chi Chuan masters say that before you take a step or you kick, you need to clear off and empty body weight from the foot that you intend to move to the other. Taekwondo demands the same, so you must learn to do it and synchronize it with the pivoting and alignment, which is not easy. Any artificial addition to the kicking motion will disturb the rhythm and will make your kicks inefficient. To cast away any unnecessary motion in my students' kicks or my own, I have put together a series of kicking drills with a partner, which are particularly good not only to improve kicking, but your overall martial arts skill. For these exercises, I recommend to kick to the hands and forearms of your partner instead of using targets. This will help to incentivize precision and control and adopt a finer sensitivity to the line of attack. Remember that we are not looking for power, but for rhythm and efficiency. Before you get into your dobok, there are 7 tips for these drills. First, start with a gentle bouncing over the balls of your feet. Second, do not rush, try to keep a steady pace. Check out where the kicking foot lands and do not add any shuffling or extra steps. At all times, keep your head in front of your opponent's center line. Try to make precise contact with the target, slapping your opponent's hands or forearms. When kicking your partner's knees, be extremely careful and relax upon contact. And finally, the most important of all tips, make sure that you are constantly looking at your opponent's eyes. So these are the 12 rhythmic or bouncing drills. Some of them may be done in different ways. This is the general chart. Bouncing drill number 1 is about front kicking with the instep. Keep looking at your partner and kick upwards without stopping. Look at the bouncing of the base foot. Rhythmic drill number 2 is very similar. You should make sure that you pivot and that the kicking foot travels as horizontally as possible. The rhythm should be such that you may remain a long time doing this. Rhythmic drill number 3 in its first version is that you kick, the other guy kicks, then punch and the other person punches. Make sure that you hit the target very perpendicularly in an horizontal manner. The second version of drill number 3 involves that each martial artist performs 2 strikes in a turn. Don't rush because you're supposed to be able to keep with this rhythm for a long time. The first version of bouncing drill number 4 involves 1 kick each person. One person does a kick at a time. They are 2 kicks, a low kick and then a spinning side kick in which you land forward. Make sure that you're looking at your opponent's eyes all the time and that you don't add any unnecessary steppings. Bouncing drill number 4 in its second version involves that each person does a full drill, that is the 2 kicks. Low kick, crossed low kick to the knee and then a spinning side kick. Rhythmic drill number 5 includes 2 kicks with the forward foot. A round kick slapping the front hand and then a reverse round kick slapping it in the other direction. In the second version of bouncing drill number 5, each martial artist performs 2 kicks, the round and the reverse round, before it's the turn of the other one. In the bouncing or rhythmic drill number 6, in the first version, we take turns for each strike. So one strikes with the fist, so does the other, then comes the spinning reverse round kick, and then the other one. Look that we are kicking, passing through and snapping through both hands when doing the kick. The second version of bouncing drill number 6 is very similar to the other, but we do both techniques before it's the turn of our partner. Note that we go with our kicking foot all the way back, and when doing the reverse punch, we try to do it in a traditional way. Rhythmic drill number 7, in its first version, again just one kick per turn, involves a side kick to the knee and a round kick with the ball of the foot to the abdomen. You need a lot of control, but it's a kind of relaxed control, so that you get used to moving the opponent's leg or knee and then to impact the abdomen. These are kicks not usually practiced in Taekwondo, and this is a great drill to get used to them. Rhythmic or bouncing drill 7, in its second version, requires a higher skill. You need the control of the kicks and also the ability to suspend your head and to apply your body weight into the target, as you will see. Bouncing drill number 8 is similar to a target drill that we made, but in this case it's one-on-one, and it's part of the ability to move forward and spin, focus on the target and not go through it. See, there's a control of the impact of the tornado kick so that you don't go through it. You stop the technique right at the point of contact. Rhythmic drill number 9 is quite challenging. You make a switch step, preparing for lifting your leg, and then you bring it down and forward. You should kick over your opponent's shoulder using the blind spot. This is the typical way Korean stylists prepare the axe kick. This bouncing drill is also quite challenging. You are doing an outward crescent kick, jumping and passing over your partner's extended arms. You're doing it with both legs, and the only way to keep up with the rhythm is not to add any extra steps. Drill number 11 is particularly difficult. You switch your stance, front kick, and then do a punch, what I call a tilting punch. And then I will add an outward crescent kick. Look that after the front kick, there's an imaginary side kick to the back that helps to balance the tilt before coming back, lifting the foot for the crescent kick. Bouncing drill number 12 involves interweaving a skipping outward crescent kick plus a spinning crescent kick and a reverse round kick. As you see in some of these drills, I am using low kicks to the knee joint in a way which is not allowed in any martial sport. You need to get used to read the stance, the body weight disposition and position of your opponent's legs in order to be able to use low kicks, which is something many times neglected in Taekwondo, although such techniques are found in Taekwondo's forms. Be careful and very serious about this, yet enjoy your training and be playful. Martial art training is also about the responsibility of getting used to handling dangerous techniques. If we are excessively afraid of the capability of those techniques to inflict damage, we will probably never train them, and those kicks will be excluded from our self-protection arsenal. Permanent eye contact is one of the most important and neglected aspects in the martial arts. The eyes provide lots of information that is processed at unconscious level, and that is a big secret. The adjustment of distance and time, holding your body upright yet relaxed, cannot be done if you are looking elsewhere. But you should not be looking anxiously to try to find a clue about what your opponent's about to do. Simply connect your eyes and disconnect your brain. Let your well-trained body assume control. A mirror reflects the image of whatever is placed in front of it in real time, without delay. Let's say that it reflects because there is no interference between the object and the mirror. Similarly, your mind should not interfere between the situation and your response. Simply focus your eyes and connect with the eyes of your opponent without thinking, entering the zone of common rhythm, where your actions will be perfect in time and space. This is called mushim in Korean and literally means no heart, no desire. In martial arts, we train for life or death situations which require that you are detached from speculation, from intention, and even from desire. This will enable you to deal with things and situations freely. This type of rhythmic training, which is done without rush or haste, teaches you that actions fall naturally into their proper time. If you move allowing the natural bouncing of the bodies to dictate the rhythm, you will be able to keep moving for many minutes in a kind of Zen-like aerobic state. This is something I have been working on lately. I am far from achieving it. It's something difficult because first you need to polish your physical and technical rigidities before getting deeper. You will probably get a good taste of that with the first drill. The experience of training in mushim rhythmically connected to an opponent is a very powerful training tool that I learned a long time ago from a friend who's a black belt under Master Choi Nam-song. Some hard traditionalists in Taekwondo circles believe that bouncing is related to sparring and martial sport, while real fighting or true martial art is performed in a rather stiff-legged way as forms, which generally are seen to be quite rigid except for the ITF tool. So The bouncing versus flat walking dichotomy brings me to the sport versus martial art dichotomy. To me, one practical definition of what a martial system is that it's a method of training that teaches you how to move in relation to someone else in the context of physical violence. There may be many methods. Some of them may potentially converge. I am much against simplistic labels. For example, boxing is a great self-protection method under certain circumstances, and the fact that it is a sport doesn't make its punches hurt any less. Of course, Asian martial arts have other aspects, but now we are talking about fighting. Korean-style kicking did not result from an attempt to embellish kicking technique, but from a consistent and pragmatic process to make kicks functional in combat. If sparring competition becomes itself the goal of training, then at some point in the specialization process there might be a problem when it comes to self-protection. But to discard sparring and to consider that you need to centrally work around forms to develop your self-protection skills is to bet on a dead horse. As Bruce Lee said, repeating forms in solitary and expect that you learn to fight by doing that is much like to learn how to swim on dry land. I don't want to be misunderstood. Much of my own training consists on repeating forms of different types with or without weapons. I have no choice since I am alone most of the time I train, and forms are a great way to polish my kinesthetic responses. To pick on sparring as something contrary to combat effectiveness is at least a gross oversimplification. Sparring is essential. As far as fighting ability is referred, 9 out of 10 times I will prefer a sparring champion over someone whose best feature is being good at forms. During the last 35 years, I have heard people disdain high kicks as flashy, a way to say that they are good for show but useless for real combat. These people obviously have no exposure on how true Korean-style martial art training works. I have known more than one old-school black belt with thick fists who can punch through bricks and also jump over a 5-foot fence just taking a couple of steps, then kick 2 different targets while being in the air before landing. The strongman versus performer comparison portrays a simplistic understanding of the martial arts and fighting. I have discussed what is the ideal of the classical Taekwondo exponent. Strong, very agile and precise. I have known such type of people. Tough, extraordinary martial artists. Just look at this picture with Hee Cho, Chuck Norris and Jun Chong. This is as badass as a picture can get, because kicking is an extraordinary skill and demands extraordinary dedication. Combat seasoned martial artists have the same approach as shooters. Against a dangerous aggressor, you don't aim to the legs, which are moving, and by striking them you will not end off that person. You go straight to the head or torso to finish him off. If you see high kicks as flashy, you're probably having in mind the wrong image. Stunning, drastic would be better words for them. If those kicks are beautiful, it is just because human beings find beauty in balanced, harmonic and natural things. Beauty is a byproduct of quality. When correctly performed, Korean-style kicks express the full physical potential and are natural. And because they are natural, they are kinesthetically efficient. So if someone makes an association linking ugliness with combat efficiency, that person has a distorted understanding of human motion in combat. Let me clarify. Violence is ugly by itself, but you should separate the ugliness of violence with the supposed ugliness of motion. We have all seen knockout spinning heel kicks in kickboxing or mixed martial arts matches on TV. They exist and they are possible. Of course, you must train a lot to attain such type of skill. In this series, I have shown part of that training. When you have reached a high level in the specialty, you don't feel the weight of your feet. Your legs are very strong, fast, and accurate. High kicks are a central component of Taekwondo training. It takes a lot of effort and it is not for everyone. Of course, high kicks are probably not my first choice for self-protection, but they are an extraordinary tool for learning how to use your body in combat. I never allow someone who has a limited understanding of kicking skills to explain me what an able kicker can do or cannot. But I always try to remind myself that if I am a Taekwondo exponent, in addition to aiming for kicks like bolts, I must develop shattering hand strikes. In all this, my inspiration comes from master instructors who have kept being a model for us past their age 70. People like Park Jong-soo, Ricky Ha, Kim Hee-young, and Lee Kyu-hyung. This is what Sabom means. Sa is a person who is Bom, a model. With these ideas in mind, we are finally ready to move to the last part of this series, which will round up all the technical, cultural, and practical martial art aspects that we have discussed in the previous episodes, diving into the history of Korean martial arts.